Hi everyone, and a warm welcome to today's live chat in this year's SAP Innovation Awards series, and with a particular focus today on all things inclusion and enablement. How can we advance inclusive economic growth and gender equality? And to do this, I'm in great company. First of all, I'd love to welcome Elizabeth Vazquez, CEO and co-founder of WeConnect International. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Sally. I'm thrilled to be with both of you.
Oh, absolutely. So close to heart this. I can't wait for this conversation. And equally, I'm delighted to be joined too by Margot Goodson VP and Head of Diversity and Inclusion at SAP. Welcome, Margot.
Thanks for having me. Hello to both of you.
Oh, pleasure, absolutely. And perhaps what a great way to start off. I think more about kind of the people behind the tech, should we say, and in particular about WeConnect International. Elizabeth, if I could hand over to you, can you share more for everybody about, frankly, your amazing mission and how this project with SAP is really been supporting you attaining them? And we're definitely going to the details of that a bit more later, but really the mission here, how are you supporting women-owned businesses right across the world, really to compete better in this global market space? I'd love to start from there, if I may.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sally. And again, thank you, Margot. This is a really wonderful opportunity to talk about the work we're all doing together. And WeConnect International is a global nonprofit. We are set up by the world's biggest companies, and our mission is to help drive money into the hands of women-owned businesses by making it easier for them to compete in the global marketplace. So we're based in the US, but our member buyers, representing over $4 trillion in annual purchasing power, are working all over the world, and the women-owned businesses we served are based in over 135 countries. And so this project with SAP was done in partnership with USAID, Accenture, ExxonMobil, IBM, P&G, and all of us are committed to building a multilingual online platform that makes it easier for our member buyers to find these incredible women suppliers around the world.
Absolutely love it. So you've got kind of, I talk in pillars quite a lot. So you've got kind of the pillar one with connectivity, bringing people together. I think that's absolutely key. So your member buyers with women-owned sellers, fantastic. Kind of enhancing capability as pillar two as well to transact in business. And the other point I love about what you do about skills and instilling confidence, I think absolutely critical. So I'd love to come back to that later, Elizabeth, if I may, but I think that's a great starter for our episode today. And Margot, if I could bring you in now as well, obviously yourself as well, extensive background as an entrepreneur, right across business, leading different types of teams as well. What's your take on the mission that Elizabeth has outlined here and why this matters so much, really the value of this network?
I just think it's phenomenal. You know, we have to do more than just take up space in this world, and we have to contribute back. And what I think is important is that recognizing 42% of all US businesses, at least, are owned by women, and they employ over 9 million workers. So with that scope and the buying power that comes with that, to have a platform that enables the success of the businesses is critical. It's critical to our society, it's critical to our economy. I'm proud that SAP is a partner in this because of the fact that we have to have platforms that support the growth and development of these women-owned businesses, and also that helps with respect to their business acumen, their visibility, their accessibility to the dollars. Having been a female entrepreneur myself in the past, I didn't always have what was needed from a mentorship perspective or from a certification perspective. I just didn't know what I didn't know. So to see what is happening now with Elizabeth and the organization is just so key. It's just so important. We want to make sure that we can contribute to the strategy, development, execution of not just those businesses, but what those businesses are doing for the customers and partners in the ecosystem. You mentioned a number of entities that you're working with who are our mutual customers and partners. And so as we help these women-owned businesses to have greater imprint in the supplier diversity ecosystem, it works both ways. And so to have you at the helm of that, Elizabeth, I just think it's phenomenal and exciting.
Love it, absolutely love it. And I think you're so right, the power of the ecosystem. And I think we reflect back over the last few years, the power of coming together to deliver change and such shared value being achieved here, I think is absolutely critical. You mentioned mentorship there, and I also think these networks so important to kind of move beyond mentorship to sponsorship as well, and really putting people forward. So love everything about this. And the next area is really focusing in on the how. I think so much valuable sharing we could do for our audience today here as well. So to enable enable all of this supporting change, the enablement here, I think is so key. Obviously, there's been a lot behind the scenes to make this a reality. The power of the partnership together really key here. But Elizabeth, I'd love if we could bring out some of the challenges you face in making this a reality, and then what we can learn from how you overcome them. So what were the daily challenges you were dealing with before you went down, for example, the WeConnect community? I'd love to kind of drill into that first, and then how we've resolved them.
Well, first of all, thank you, Margot, for your leadership in this space. Your passion is contagious, and it's really a pleasure to get to work with you. And Sally, I love the way you're framing the opportunity. I mean, there are some real challenges. Our member buyers, they're the biggest companies in the world. They're the multilateral institutions like the World Bank Group, they're governments, and they're all wanting to buy more from women-owned businesses because they know that women represent, well, they make or influence 85% of all consumer purchasing decisions. They're 50% of the population. They own like 33% of all private businesses. But unfortunately, on average, corporations, governments, multilaterals, they spend only 1% with women-owned businesses. And that's just a massive market failure that WeConnect International was created to help fix. And the best way to do that is to make it as easy as possible for supply and demand to connect. And women all over the world, they offer competitive solutions, products and services, but they don't have easy access to markets. And that's why this platform, WeCommunity inside SAP, makes it easier for our buyers to go online and search for these competitive solutions that frankly, our buyers just didn't even know existed.
Exactly. I think that's so important with that kind of broader context. And naturally, some of that's come up already, but there are key challenges to address. I come from a CTO telco background as part of what I do, and connectivity being one of those areas as well. I think it's just under 3 billion, I think 2.6 billion people in the world at the moment are still unconnected. You were absolutely right. Just under 2.5 billion, I believe, women of working age haven't got equal economic access to opportunity. And we've got big issues around funding gaps. Again, that's what I hear on a daily basis. The funding gap is huge, it's growing, it's escalated with COVID. And again, I think it's sitting just under $2 trillion at the moment. So it's absolutely huge. So everything you're doing here is really addressing this head on. So I think that's so critical.
If I may add one comment to that as well, too, you think about the business to business aspect that some of us larger corporations engage in, and a lot of the women-owned businesses may not fall into that big business realm, but in the medium, small to mid-size. I think that is one of the key challenges, that no matter how many opportunities we think we have, or how many goals we might set as it relates to buying from those entities, having a better conduit to them and a use by category for them is just so key. When you're a big giant buying from another big giant who typically isn't women owned, then there lies your biggest challenge right there with the amount of spend that you'll put forth. But I know and trust that through this community that you've created, that it will get better.
Absolutely. And what an opportunity here as well for shared value, because we've talked about some of those challenges there, but conversely, supporting this with this enablement, what we can achieve. And when you mentioned there around SMEs in particular, the biggest contribution into growing economies worldwide is really from this marketplace. So again, the shared value opportunity here is absolutely huge. So Elizabeth, I'd love to hear a bit more about the implementation of WeCommunity and how that went about, really, how you went about doing that, and why you partnered and chose to work with SAP around this specifically. I'd love to kind of bring together that power of trusted partnership, really.
So it was really exciting to have this vision of the art of the possible to build WeCommunity together with SAP. We launched it because we not only needed a searchable database of our women-owned business suppliers that are based, almost anywhere in the world, but we also needed to make it easy for them to apply to become not just registered, which they can do for free. So the barrier to entry is really low. But we also needed, our members wanted to know that if they're going to go out of their way to be inclusive and make sure that women are actually, and other underutilized suppliers, but in our case, women, are able to compete for their business, they needed a certifying body. So we needed to make sure that this new WeCommunity platform could accept the information, the documentation that we need to prove that these women are at least 51% owned, managed, and controlled by one or more women. And then we needed our local certification assessors to be able to access that information so that they can understand in the local language and local documentation, that those are valid documents. And so WeCommunity makes it possible for our buyers to not only find these registered businesses, but also the verified, so that when the CEO stands up and says, we're inclusive, we buy from women, and you know, women should be doing business with us, by the way, that those are all true statements. And so our member buyers use WeCommunity to also post their RFX opportunities, so that these suppliers can easily access those opportunities and bid and compete, and more often win because of this platform.
Absolutely love that. And if we can focus in on some of the outcomes from this as well, so really clear in terms of this, making it easier for buyers and selectors to connect, I think it's absolutely critical. But if we can bring out some of those key points as well about what's been achieved so far, I think that would be fantastic. And I was one of the judges for this, and I will do a start of a 10 with 95% growth in women-owned businesses in 3 years, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So I'd love to bring that as a start of a 10. But over to you, Elizabeth, if I may, what else can we share with the audience about the impact this has had already, and so much more to come, of course?
Well, I mean, this was just such a very special recognition. I didn't realize, honestly, when we applied, that we were competing with the biggest companies in the world for this really important and coveted recognition by SAP. And so we were really, really honored to be selected for this award. And it's because it was a collaborative effort that we used the best of the best that SAP is doing, not just in technology, but SAP is also one of our member buyers. So you're walking the talk. You leverage your own purchasing power to make these things happen. And then bringing in all of our other member buyers, because when we asked them, we said, well, you know, what are you already using to manage your suppliers? Again, we have to make this easy, right? So the majority of them use SAP. And so we've just made it that much easier. We've taken down those barriers, and we've demonstrated that when you take down those barriers and you make it easier for buyers to be inclusive in their sourcing practices, that we can follow the money. So I mean, we now are tracking, we went from tracking $4 billion in spend with women-owned businesses based outside of the US, as with our small community, our growing community, to now we're tracking $8 billion. So we've doubled it since we started WeCommunity, since it officially launched. And so, I mean, we're actually moving money into the hands of women, who in turn will employ more people and support their families and their communities.
Absolutely amazing. And so again, it's not just about inclusive economic growth and gender equality, it's also about mobility to a degree as well, in these areas as well. So I think this is huge. What I'd love to bring in now, Margot, if I could bring back you on this as well. It's really clear the power of the partnership to deliver on this. I'd love to bring in your take about what SAP is doing more broadly as well, and supporting customers. And one example of that, I saw something you'd sent out from another Success Connect event very recently too. And I thought that was a great example of the fact that SAP, by culture, I would say, for so many years, because it's a really long partnership for me as well, has always invested this. And for me, this embedding by design of these considerations is absolutely critical. It's truly authentic. So I love what you were bringing out to the fore from your recent post about the event. And you were talking about so many different areas, not just about content or about technology, but also around, you know, prayer rooms, lactation suites, tranquility rooms, etc. All those holistic areas being at the fore. I just wanted to mention that because I thought it's a great example of inclusion by design. You know, it's so matters. So over to you, Margot, if I may. Can you tell us a bit more about SAP's involvement in this, obviously this specific project, but more broadly beyond, how you're supporting your customers and employees on this journey?
Yeah, thank you. We're on a mission to make DEI our DNA, and that is foundational to everything we do. So if we can make DEI our DNA at SAP, what that looks like is that it is a part of the employee journey, but it transcends people into our processes, our programs, into our initiatives, into our technology, into the way we show up, where we show up, how we show up, and with whom we show up. So specific to this partnership, I love the fact that it goes across multiple countries, because we're in 160 plus countries, multiple languages, because we are inherently diverse as a society, as a company. And then the fact that we're very intentional. We are intentionally inclusive in a number of different ways, and embedding D&I into the corporate DNA of our customers and partners is so key. We've had some deals that hinge on whether or not we have supplier diversity goals that match what they do and how they do it. We have companies leveraging our SAP Ariba and such in a way that it matters. So when we think about not just our HXM suite, but our other products and services, we are looking at how we can be more inclusive, how we can enable the future of tech for SAP as well as for the various companies. So we have goals around gender parity in our workforce, around women in leadership at 35% that we're striving for. We have audacious goals that will enable us to see the results of the efforts that are being put forth. We enable our women in the workplace through different talent development programs, career advancement programs. We have women to watch and talent to watch. We send them through McKinsey. So we make sure that they can be able to show up as their best to our customers and partners. We even look to help women-owned businesses, whether they're a customer partner ecosystem or suppliers, to start their own employee network groups or resource groups, perhaps. We've helped launch INEOS's Business Women's Network and work with Cirque du Soleil and other companies around what they do best. And then so we think about our supplier enablement, right? We have that ability too, through our different technology resources and through partnership, specifically with WeConnect, to make a difference by pouring into and then make a difference coming out of having category focus of which we can leverage our GPO talent to look specifically in that database when we connect in that community to say, these are the categories where we can be more selective in who we are purchasing from, where we don't necessarily need the largest companies that we buy from the respect of the business we do, but that we can say, look, in these offices, local offices, in these other arenas where the women-owned businesses are really shining, we can make a difference. We even have our separate SAP.io entity, which focuses on women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses who are startups, and we help accelerate their businesses and then go to market with them in many ways as a tangential opportunity and offering to our customer base. So super excited and proud about the things that we've been doing. I know that even in our CSR department, we have what we call Pro Bono for Economic Equity. It's a partnership between CSR and D&I. Our colleagues offer pro bono services, consulting services for 6 weeks to companies, primarily women-owned, but definitely also Indigenous-owned and Black-owned, which has intersectionality to gender identity, to help them advance their systems and companies in the marketplace so that they can then become certified in a WeConnect International, that they can then be on our supplier list that our procurement team can leverage when they're doing RFPs and going out there to market. So, we're making it very intersectional and multidimensional. We really do center our D&I strategy, not just on workforce diversity, but workplace inclusion and marketplace leadership. And that marketplace leadership is surely shining as we partner with Elizabeth in this opportunity with the WeConnect International community. So as you can tell, I'm super excited and proud of everything that we do at SAP. I've been here 16 years, 5 different roles, and I do have my passions, my profession, and making a difference, partnering with people like Elizabeth is super exciting. So happy to meet her when we were at Sapphire earlier this year in person, and just looking forward to that strategic development and advancement throughout the ecosystem and enabling others to run at their best by being intentionally inclusive of what helps our society and economy run at its best.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And what you were saying there about intentional inclusion, but also you mentioned so many things around visibility there. And my goodness, doesn't that matter? Again, if you can look or relate to or see something that relates to you, I think it's so important. And you mentioned different areas around inclusion and diversity too. So I'm so glad you did that. And one, if I may, I'd love to bring to the fore too is neurodiversity, for example, which sometimes doesn't get so much of a focus, but I think it's massively important. So I'd love to give a little shout out for Project Dandelion in that particular area, and also the move around enablement through skills development, for example, move beyond STEM to STEAM. So if I may, I'd love to announce a new scholarship around that, which we'll put some details on in the chat as well. So it's with my own non-for-profit, so Aspirational Futures STEM Ed, new scholarships around that too. So I'd love to mention that. It just fits so lovely into what we're talking about
today.
It
sure does. And we even have some free SAP certifications that can be leveraged in tech boot camps that can help in that STEM area. And our Autism at Work program has been renowned for a number of years, where we do directly bring people professionals on the spectrum into our workplace. And we're just excited. We're excited about it. We even have one of our employee resource groups, network groups, dedicated to autism inclusion. And so it's called the Autism Inclusion Network. And whether that means that it's a colleague on the spectrum or a family member who works here who has to care for someone on the spectrum, we have that Autism Inclusion Network and even a caregivers network. So like-minded people. It's super exciting. And so love to hear that you're doing that, and congrats on that nonprofit.
Oh, pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Again, I think the synergies that I'm in this conversation is just a really joyful one. So thank you so much for sharing that. It's fantastic. And Elizabeth, I'd love to kind of bring this all together now about what's next. So we've really focused in on the project, everything that led into this SAP award-winning entry. But I'd love to kind of move beyond now. And again, I think there's a really positive contagion in this conversation today about all things impact and coming together for positive change. So what's your plans next for further expansion of reach? How can we all support and come together, and kind of what's next with the WeCommunity platform?
So I think we've all demonstrated that by being inclusive, everyone does better. We can do business, we can make money, and we can do good in the world. And the more we can create opportunities for everyone to reach their full potential, for everyone to contribute, and for everyone to benefit, regardless of the different types of physical, mental, abilities, whether it's people with different, ethnic backgrounds, members of the veterans community, people of different genders, LGBTQ+. I mean, there's so many different aspects that we could look at for our friends who historically are parts of communities that are underutilized. And that's shame on all of us, because we don't benefit when we don't see them, when we don't engage with them, when we don't learn from them. We miss out on the innovation. We miss out on all their unique world experiences that they can bring forward to look at things differently and to do things better. And so I think that's the whole point of all of this, is how do we all work together, and how do we leverage our purchasing power? I mean, it isn't rocket science, quite honestly. As individuals, we all have purchasing power. Women alone, half the population, have something like make or influence $20 trillion in consumer purchasing decisions. So if we just spent 10% of it with other women, that would be $2 trillion into the hands of women instantly, who in turn would reinvest it in everyone, right? Families, communities, employees. So I think we just need to recognize that there are small steps we can do by being just aware and proactive and inclusive and just thoughtful about fundamentally how we spend our money, how we use our power to do good in the world. And so we want everyone to be a part of this movement. Use the SAP tools, use WeCommunity. You can join for free if you're a woman in business. You can join as a member buyer. And we're really excited about doing this work together.
And Elizabeth, recognizing it's a business imperative, right? It's not a moral thing. It's not just the right thing, but it is a business imperative for the sustainability of our society and the business world. So it's so important to ensure and know that collaboration at its finest, inclusion, visibility, belonging are key factors in contributing to the outcomes and the successes of the individual businesses and of the collective corporate America, internationally, nationally, and so forth throughout the world.
Absolutely. Really good point there, Margot. This really is a shared value proposition. It really, really is. And it is an imperative. It's one of my favorite words around this. It really is. And doing it in that embedded, thoughtful, purposeful way, all areas of the organization. I love the fact some of those final points will also bring into the fore things around diversity of experience and perspective and all the benefits that can bring. You look at what's happening in AI, for example. Again, the more diverse teams we have, the reduce of implicit bias, for example, is really fundamentally reduced. So many benefits. And I think just experientially as well, I think we all know how much, whether it's creativity or satisfaction or just that joy of learning, when we bring different people, experiences, perspectives, everything we've talked about today together, my goodness, we all benefit, don't we? We really do.
Intersectionally and multidimensionally.
Yes, exactly.
Let's be innovative and agile.
Definitely, I couldn't agree more. Well, I think for everybody watching and listening at the moment, I think you can feel from all of us how much we care about this. And Elizabeth, Margot, fantastic to spend time with you today. I really hope we can do this again, perhaps even go longer. So much to drill into here and to share. I know we'll have lots of questions. So again, for everybody watching and listening now, we'll be putting lots of details in the chat and some of the social shares around this, so you can find out more. Please do reach out. Please get involved with WeConnect, also with SAP, with Aspirational Futures. All this work together. My goodness, let's come together and create a positive contagion of positive change. Let's do it. Thank you very much, Elizabeth, Margot. It's been a pleasure to spend time with you.
Likewise. Thanks for having us, Sally.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Margot. This is great.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you. This has been our live chat on the SAP Innovation Awards series for 2023. We'll be back with another episode soon. I'm Professor Sally Eaves. It's been a pleasure hosting you. Thank you.